Hello there, and welcome to HistSleep channel. Imagine if your life, and the life of everyone you loved, depended on a single shadow, lurking in the darkness, just outside the reach of your campfire. What if the creature that was born to hunt you was the only thing that could save you? Tonight, we are going to tell a story that began 30,000 years ago. A story of a silent pact, signed in the snow and sealed with blood. It is the secret history of how a predator became a protector and how two separate souls became one destiny. Stay with me as we walk into the great ice. Before we wander into the vast, white wilderness of the past, if you find comfort in these quiet histories, please consider subscribing to the channel. A gentle like on this video helps our stories reach other weary souls, and I would love to hear, in the comments, the name of the faithful companion who might be sleeping by your side tonight. Your presence here is the warmth that keeps this hearth burning. Now, let us begin. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the cool air entering your lungs, and as you exhale, let go of the day. Feel the stillness wrapping around you like a heavy wool blanket. Close your eyes, and let us travel 30,000 years into the heart of the great ice. Imagine, if you will, a world draped in a perpetual shroud of white. We are standing on the edge of a vast tundra plateau in what will one day be known as Europe. But now, there are no borders, no cities, no clock towers chiming the hour. There is only the wind. It is a low, morning sound that carries the crystalline scent of ancient glaciers. The sky above is a deep, bruised violet, salted with stars that burn with a cold, piercing intensity. Beneath your feet, the permafrost is hard, like iron. Every step you take makes a faint, rhythmic crunch in the dry, powdery snow. This is the late Pleistocene, an age where the earth breathed in ice and exhaled frost. The great glaciers, miles thick, sit heavily upon the northern lands, their weight so immense, they have flattened the very bones of the earth. In the distance, the silhouettes of the mammoth steppe move like slow, gray clouds. Giant creatures, with tusks like curved ivory lightning, moving in a slow, prehistoric dance. But we are not looking for the giants tonight. We are looking for something smaller. Something watching from the shadows of the stunted pine trees. Notice the silence of this world. It is not an empty silence, but a full one. It is a silence that waits. Every crack of a freezing branch, every rustle of dry grass, feels amplified, echoing across the empty miles. To live here is to listen. Our ancestors, the hunters and the gatherers, learned to hear the music of the wind. They understood the different voices of the cold. And there, near a jagged outcropping of limestone, we see the first sign of life. A flicker of movement. A shadow detached from the larger shadows of the rocks. It is a wolf. But not the wolf of our modern tales. This is a creature of the tundra, lean, powerful, with a coat as thick as the moss on the stones. Its breath escapes its muzzle, in small, ghostly plumes of steam. The wolf is hungry. But more than hunger, it feels a strange pull. A pull toward the flickering amber light of a distant fire. For thousands of years, the wolf has followed the herds. But lately, it has begun to follow the smell of wood smoke. It knows that where there is smoke, there is warmth. And where there is warmth, there is a possibility of survival. Human and wolf. Two apex predators. Two masters of the hunt. For eons, they have been rivals. They have watched each other from across the valleys, with eyes filled with caution and respect. But tonight, the cold is different. It is a deep, bone-aching cold that demands a new way of living. The wolf pauses, its ears twitching. It tilts its head, listening to the distant laughter, or perhaps the low hum of a song, coming from the human cave. It is a sound of community, of safety, of shared heat. The wolf takes a step, and then another. It is crossing the frozen threshold. It is moving away from the wild and toward the hearth. Think about the courage of that first step. A predator approaching its greatest rival, not with teeth bared, but with a quiet curiosity. And inside the cave, by the dying embers of the fire, a human looks up. They do not reach for their spear. Instead, they watch. They see the wolf's eyes, reflecting the orange glow of the embers. And in that moment, something shifts. The ancient fear begins to melt like spring ice. They are both survivors of a harsh and unforgiving world. They both understand the value of a pack. The human knows that the wolf has senses they do not possess. The wolf can hear the approach of the cave lion long before the human can. The wolf can smell the trail of the reindeer through a blizzard that would blind a man. And the wolf, looking at the human, sees a creature that can create fire. A creature that can build shelter. A creature that has extra food. It is a silent negotiation written in the language of necessity. A covenant signed in the snow. The night grows deeper now. The wind outside the cave howls in frustration, unable to penetrate the thick stone walls. Inside, the wolf has found a spot, just at the edge of the light. Not too close, but close enough to feel the radiant heat on its fur. It curls its tail around its nose, its ears still alert, but its body, finally, beginning to relax. The human, leaning back against the cold stone, feels a strange sense of peace. The cave feels safer tonight. The darkness outside feels less vast. Because for the first time, they are not alone in the dark. They have a guardian, a partner, a ghost of the tundra who has chosen to stay. This is how it began. Not with a cage or a leash, but with a shared fire on a frozen night 30,000 years ago. The wolf looking at the man looking at the wolf, and the world changing forever. As the embers fade into a soft, red glow, the silence returns. But it is a different silence now. It is the silence of a partnership. It is the first chapter of a 3-hour story that we are only just beginning to tell. Rest now. Listen to the rhythm of the ancient wind. And know that the journey is just starting. The fire is dying down now. The bright, aggressive orange flames have settled into a soft, pulsating crimson. Inside the cave, the air is thick with the scent of dry pine and the metallic tang of cold stone. But outside, beyond the narrow mouth of our shelter, lies a darkness so profound it feels heavy. A darkness that hasn't been touched by light for an eternity. Stay here with me, by the embers. Feel the floor beneath you, the ancient dust of the earth. Listen. Beyond the crackle of the wood, there is a sound. A sound that is not the wind. It is a low, steady, rhythmic rasp. The sound of a breath, catching in a throat, just a few yards away, in the velvet shadows of the stunted trees. Look closely into that wall of blackness. There, 2 points of light emerge. Not the twinkling light of the stars, but something deeper. Something ancient. 2 amber orbs, glowing with a faint, bioluminescent fire. They do not blink. They do not waver. They are the eyes in the shadows. For the human sitting by the hearth, these eyes have always meant one thing: danger. Since the dawn of our species, we have looked into the dark and feared the gaze that looks back. Those eyes belonged to the stalker, the one who followed our tracks in the mud, the one who waited for the fire to go out. But tonight, the fear feels different. It is being replaced by a strange, magnetic pull. The wolf is not crouching for a spring. It is sitting. Its haunches are tucked into the snow. Its ears are not pinned back in aggression, but are tilted forward, straining to catch the sound of the human heartbeat. It is studying us. It is observing the way we move, the way we share our food, the way we huddle together for warmth. It sees our weakness, but it also sees our magic. To the wolf, the fire is a miracle. It is a captured sun, brought down from the sky and kept alive with wood and breath. The wolf knows the cold. It knows the way the frost bites at the pads of its feet. It knows the hollow ache of a stomach that hasn't seen meat in 3 days. And here, in front of this strange, 2-legged creature, is everything it craves: heat, food, and a pack that doesn't leave its members behind. The human reaches into the pile of remnants. A piece of tendon, a bit of gristle, unwanted by the tribe. They do not throw it with force. They toss it gently. An offering, sliding across the frozen threshold, stopping just where the light meets the dark. The amber eyes track the movement. There is a long, agonizing silence. The wind holds its breath. The embers pop, sending a single spark drifting toward the ceiling. Then, the shadow moves. A muzzle, gray and frostbitten, enters the circle of light. The nose twitches, absorbing 1,000 scents at once. The wolf tastes the air. It tastes our intent. It takes the offering. Quickly, efficiently. But it does not run away. It swallows, and then it looks up again. Our eyes meet, once more. In this gaze, there is a bridge being built. A bridge made of trust, across a canyon of 1,000,000 years of rivalry. We are looking into the soul of the wild, and the wild is looking into the soul of humanity. Think about the darkness that surrounds us. To the human, the night is a void. We are blind in the shadows. We are vulnerable. But the wolf sees the world in shades of silver and gray. To the wolf, the darkness is a map. It sees the owl landing on the branch. It sees the lynx moving through the tall grass. It sees the things that we cannot. And as the wolf lingers, the human begins to realize a profound truth. If those eyes stay directed outward, away from the cave, then nothing can sneak up on us. If those eyes become our eyes, the night is no longer an enemy. It is a shared territory. The wolf takes another step, closer. It is now within the warmth. It feels the radiation of the fire penetrating its thick, winter coat. It lets out a long, shivering sigh. The tension in its shoulders, the tension that has been there since the day it was born, begins to melt. It lies down. Its head rests on its paws, but the amber eyes remain open, watching the entrance of the cave. The covenant is deepening. We provide the spark, it provides the shield. We provide the dream, it provides the reality. The human feels a weight lifting, a primal anxiety that has haunted our species since the trees. For the first time, we can close our eyes and not worry about what is coming from behind. Outside, the blizzard begins to pick up. The snow swirls in violent, white curtains, trying to reclaim the earth. But inside, it is still. The only sounds are the crackle of the wood and the soft, steady breathing of two predators who have decided to be friends. Notice how your own breath begins to match the rhythm of the script. In and out. Slow and steady. Just like the wolf, just like the hunter. The night is long, and the world is cold, but you are not alone. The eyes in the shadows are now the eyes that guard your sleep. As we drift further into the history, the fire burns lower. The amber glow of the eyes begins to soften as the wolf finally closes them. It trusts us. It trusts that we will keep the fire alive. And we trust that it will wake us if the world turns dangerous. Rest now in this newfound safety. Let the image of the golden eyes fade into a warm, protective light. The ice is thick, but the bond is thicker. We are safe. We are together. And the journey continues into the heart of the pack. The night is at its deepest point now. The world outside our stone sanctuary has succumbed to a silence so heavy it feels like the weight of the mountains themselves. The fire, once a roaring giant, has now matured into a steady, glowing heart of embers. And there, just at the edge of that fading light, our visitor remains. The wolf. Take a moment to breathe with the rhythm of this ancient cave. Feel the cool, damp air meeting the dry heat of the wood smoke. We are witnessing a choice. Not a choice made in a single second, but a slow, gradual, biological turning of a key. This is the scavenger's choice. A decision that will echo through 30,000 years until it reaches the very dog that might be sleeping at the foot of your bed tonight. Imagine the internal world of this creature. For millions of years, the law of the wolf was the law of the chase. To eat meant to run. To run until the lungs burned like fire, to run until the heart hammered against the ribs, to run until the prey finally stumbled. It was a life of magnificent, but exhausting, violence. A life where every meal was paid for, with the risk of a broken bone, or a fatal kick from a desperate elk. But here, in the shadow of the human cave, a new path has opened. A path that doesn't require the frantic sprint, or the dangerous struggle. The wolf looks at the remnants of our hunt. The bones, rich with marrow. The scraps of hide, the fat, the pieces of meat that we, in our human abundance, have discarded. To a wild predator, this is a revelation. It is a treasure trove that costs nothing but a little bit of pride and a lot of patience. Notice how the wolf moves. It is no longer stalking. It is lingering. It is learning to wait. In the wild, waiting is often a sign of weakness. But here, near the humans, Waiting is a strategy. The wolf is calculating the cost of energy. Why chase a deer for 10 miles through chest-deep snow when you can sit quietly in the warmth of a human's shadow and receive the same sustenance? This is the birth of the scavenger's spirit. It requires a special kind of intelligence, a social intelligence. The wolf has to suppress its urge to snarl. It has to suppress its urge to bite the hand that feeds. It has to trade its wild ferocity for a quiet, observant tameness. Think about the first wolf, who decided not to run away when the human moved. Think about the courage it took to stay still, to allow a creature of a different species to walk within 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. The wolf's heart must have been racing, its instinct screaming to flee back into the safety of the dark woods. But the belly and the warmth said, "Stay." As we sit here in the silence, we can almost feel that tension. The tug-of-war between the wild and the domestic, between the forest and the hearth. Every time the wolf chooses to stay, the wild grows a little bit more distant. The stars above, those cold, indifferent witnesses, look down on a transformation. The wolf is no longer just a wolf. It is becoming a partner. The human, too, is making a choice. We are choosing to share. We are realizing that our waste is the wolf's wealth. And in exchange for that wealth, we receive something we didn't even know we needed. A companion. A pair of ears that never sleep. A nose that knows the direction of the wind, even when the air feels still to us. Watch the wolf as it tentatively approaches a discarded bone. It doesn't snatch it and run. It picks it up, eyes fixed on the human hunter, and slowly, very slowly, it begins to gnaw. The sound of teeth on bone is the soundtrack of this new alliance. It is a peaceful sound. A domestic sound. The wolf is realizing that we are not its prey. And we are realizing that the wolf is not our enemy. We are both members of a new kind of pack. A pack that crosses the boundaries of DNA. A pack built on the foundation of a shared meal. In the deep silence of the Pleistocene, this was the most radical thing to ever happen. Two separate histories, merging into one. The scavenger's choice was the first step toward the suburban backyard, the first step toward the walk in the park, the first step toward the loyal friend who greets you at the door. Feel the stillness of the cave now. The embers are turning to gray ash, but the heat remains trapped in the stone. The wolf has finished its meal. It licks its chops, and then it does something extraordinary. It sighs. A deep, soulful, contented sigh. It rests its chin on the cold earth and looks at us. There is no hunger in that look now. There is only recognition. A recognition that we are both survivors. That we are both tired of the cold. That we both just want to belong. As you listen to the wind swirling outside, realize that the world changed, not through a great war or a giant discovery, but through this quiet choice. A wolf decided to stay. A human decided to feed. And the silence of the night became a little less lonely. Let your mind wander into that ancient darkness. See the silhouette of the wolf framed against the moonlit snow. It is a beautiful, powerful image. The wild choosing to come home. The journey is still long. 3 hours of history lie ahead of us. But for now, just breathe. Breathe in the peace of the cave. Breathe in the safety of the fire. And know that you are guarded. The choice has been made. The covenant is sealed. In the next chapter, we will explore the shared language that began to develop between our two kinds. But for this moment, just let the silence wash over you. Like the snow covering the tundra. Soft, heavy, and perfectly still. Rest your eyes. Feel the muscles in your shoulders relax. Let the story carry you like a slow-moving river. We are safe. We are warm. And the wolf is watching the door. Stay with the silence for a while. Let it settle into your bones. The journey through the great ice is only just beginning. And the scavenger has finally found his home. The fire is now a collection of glowing rubies, breathing in the darkness of the cave. Outside, the world is still locked in its crystalline embrace, but inside, a new kind of conversation is taking place. It is a conversation without words. A dialogue of the soul. This is the shared language of survival. Take a deep, calming breath. Feel the stillness of the ancient earth beneath you. We are 30,000 years in the past, yet the connection we are witnessing feels as fresh as a heartbeat. In this silent space, the human and the wolf are beginning to decode one another. They are learning to read the invisible ink of intention. For millions of years, the wolf spoke the language of the pack. A tilt of the ear, a low rumble in the chest, the position of a tail, these were the sentences that kept the family together. And the human, they too had their signs. A pointed finger, a sharpened gaze, a soft hum of a song. But tonight, these two separate lexicons are starting to bleed into one. Observe the wolf as it watches the human hunter. It is not just looking, it is studying. It notices how the human's eyes move when they hear a sound from the north. It notices the tension in the human's shoulders when a predator prowls too close to the cave entrance. The wolf is realizing that this two-legged creature sees the world through a different lens. And the human, in the flickering red light, begins to notice the wolf's ears. They are like twin radars, constantly scanning the frequencies of the night. When the wolf's left ear twitches toward the heavy snowdrifts, the human knows something is there. Perhaps a fox, perhaps a rival tribe, or perhaps just the settling of the ice. We are learning to trust another species' senses. This is a profound shift in the history of life on Earth. It is the moment where we stopped being two separate hunters and started being one collective unit. A shared language, born of necessity and tempered by the cold. Listen to the silence between the words. Can you hear the subtle shift in the wind? The wolf can. It lets out a short huff of air. Not a bark, not a growl, but a soft, informative sound. A notification. The human looks up, follows the wolf's gaze, and nods. A simple nod. In that gesture, a world of meaning is exchanged. I hear you, the human says. I am watching too, the wolf replies. This is how the bond deepened. Through the thousands of quiet moments, where nothing happened except understanding, we learned that when the wolf's tail wags low and slow, it is a sign of peace. The wolf learned that when the human's voice is low and rhythmic, it means safety. Think about the complexity of this evolution. We are talking about two predators whose ancestors were rivals for the same deer. Now, they are sharing the same breath. The wolf is learning to interpret our pointing finger, an abstract concept that no other animal truly understands. When we point at the horizon, the wolf doesn't look at our hand, it looks where we are looking. It aligns its vision with ours. This alignment is the foundation of everything that follows. It is the reason why, thousands of years later, a dog can look at its owner and know exactly when they are sad, when they are happy, or when it is time for a walk. It started here, in the freezing dark, through the smoke of a pinewood fire. Feel your own body becoming part of this ancient rhythm. In and out. Slow and heavy. The shared language is not about speaking. It is about listening. Listening with the skin, listening with the eyes, listening with the heart. The wolf shifts its weight. It moves a few inches closer to the center of the cave. It is no longer a scavenger waiting for scraps. It is a sentinel. It has accepted the responsibility of the watch. And the human has accepted the responsibility of the provider. This language of survival allowed us to conquer the world. With the wolf's nose and the human's tools, there was no environment we couldn't navigate. No blizzard we couldn't endure. No predator we couldn't outsmart. We became a team, a biological masterpiece of cooperation. As the night stretches on, the cave feels larger. Not because the stone has moved, but because our spirit has expanded. We are no longer limited by our own five senses. We have doubled our perception. We have added the scent of the wolf and the hearing of the forest to our own human experience. The embers are now turning to fine, white ash. The air is getting colder as the dawn approaches, though the sun is still hours away. The wolf lets its head fall back onto its paws. Its eyes are half closed, but its ears remain active. It is resting, but it is never truly off guard. This is the peace that comes from a shared language. The peace of knowing that you are understood, that you are not alone in the vast, indifferent wilderness, that there is a shadow by the fire who speaks your silence. Let the weight of this history settle over you like the falling snow. Soft, quiet, and eternal. You are part of this story. We all are. Every time we look into the eyes of a dog, we are reaching back 30,000 years to this very moment. The language is still there. It doesn't need words. It only needs presence. Rest now. The conversation is over for the night, but the understanding remains. The wind may howl, and the glaciers may groan, but the bond is silent and strong. Breathe in the ancient air. Breathe out the modern world. You are safe. The pack is complete. And the journey continues. The fire has become a heart of glowing embers, pulsing like a slow, red star in the belly of the cave. The deep, heavy night of the Pleistocene has reached its coldest hour. Outside, the wind has stopped its morning howl and replaced it with a silence that is almost physical. A silence that feels like frozen glass. In this stillness, every living creature is holding its breath. Take a moment to feel that stillness in your own room. Imagine the weight of the ice pressing down on the world, miles and miles of it. We are 30,000 years in the past, huddled in a circle of warmth, and there, at the very mouth of the cave, is our companion. The wolf. Notice the position of its body. It is no longer just resting. Its ears, those delicate, furry radars, are tilted outward, scanning the frozen void. Suddenly, something changes. A minute shift in the atmosphere. The wolf's head lifts, just an inch, from its paws. Its nostrils flare, catching a scent that traveled across the tundra on a ghost of a breeze. A mile away, hidden by the jagged shadows of the limestone cliffs, a predator is moving. Perhaps it is a cave lion, its tawny fur blending with the dead grass. Perhaps it is a giant short-faced bear, a nightmare of the Ice Age, heavy and silent. The human, sleeping by the embers, cannot hear it. The human, with their dull, primate ears, is oblivious to the danger that is creeping closer and closer. But the wolf knows. Its heart begins a slow, steady thrum. It stands up, its movements fluid like water. It doesn't run away. It doesn't hide. It looks back at the sleeping human. And then, for the first time in history, it makes a sound that is not a howl to the moon, nor a snarl of war. It is a short, sharp, explosive sound. A bark. Think about the vibration of that first bark. It shatters the silence of the cave like a stone thrown into a mirror. The human hunter bolts upright. Their heart is racing, their hand instinctively searching for the spear. They look at the wolf. And they see it. The wolf is standing at the threshold, its hair bristling along its spine, its eyes fixed on a specific patch of darkness, out in the snow. There, the wolf's posture says, "Something is there." This is the moment when the human realized that they were no longer blind in the dark. The bark was a bridge, a warning system that extended our awareness far beyond the reach of our own senses. The wolf has traded its silence for our protection. It has given up its invisibility to alert its new pack. Imagine the relief washing over the human. The realization that they don't have to be afraid of what they cannot see. Because the guardian never blinks. The sentinel is on the watch. The human stands, spear in hand, standing side by side with the wolf. Two species, one defense. The predator in the darkness stops. It hears the bark. It smells the human's fire, and now it smells the wolf's defiance. It realizes that the cave is no longer a vulnerable nest, but a fortress. A fortress with 4 eyes and 2 sets of weapons. Slowly, the shadow outside turns. It disappears back into the white void. The danger has passed. The wolf slowly lowers its head. The tension leaves its muscles. It turns back toward the fire and looks at the human. Not with the eyes of a wild beast, but with the eyes of a partner. It has done its duty. It has spoken the first word of a new language. The language of the alarm. Notice your own breathing now. Let it slow down as the danger in the story fades. The cave is safe once more. The fire is still warm. The bond has been proven in the face of the predator. This bark, this simple sound, changed everything. It allowed our ancestors to build smaller fires, to sleep more deeply, to dream without the constant shadow of the saber tooth. It gave us back our peace of mind. And in exchange, we gave the wolf a place by the fire and a portion of the kill. The night continues its slow crawl toward the dawn. The embers are fading now into a soft, gray dust. But the warmth remains in the stone. The wolf curls up again, its nose tucked under its tail. It is resting, but its ears are still listening. It is the silent covenant, made audible. As you drift deeper into your own sleep, imagine that first bark echoing through the canyons of time. A sound of loyalty. A sound of protection. A sound that says, "You are not alone." The world outside is cold, and the glaciers are vast, but inside, the pack is strong. The watchman is awake, so that you may sleep. The guardian is at the gate, so that you may dream. Listen to the rhythm of the ancient earth. The slow, heavy beat of history. We are safe. We are warm. And the journey through the great ice continues into the light of the morning. Rest your mind. Let the image of the firelit cave stay with you. Feel the weight of the blankets like the heavy fur of the wolf. Soft, warm, secure. The first bark was the beginning of our safety, and the silence that follows it is the most peaceful silence in the world. Breathe and let go. The dawn is coming, but for now there is only the quiet, the protector and the protected, sleeping in the heart of the ice. The night has grown even more still, as if the world is holding its breath, waiting for the first hint of gray to touch the horizon. But we are still here, safe within the stone ribs of the cave. The fire is now a bed of deep, ancient heat, and beside it, our companion is changing. Not in a way you can see in a single second, but in a way that will reshape the face of the earth. Tonight, we explore the mystery of Neoteny, the preservation of youth, and the softening of the wild. Take a long, slow, deep breath. Feel the cold air of the Pleistocene outside, and the heavy, warm air of the cave inside. As we watch the wolf sleeping by the embers, we are witnessing a biological miracle. A transformation of the soul and the body. In the wild, survival is a harsh teacher. It demands sharp angles. A long, narrow muzzle for catching the scent of blood. Narrow, intense eyes for tracking a deer through the blizzard. Upright, stiff ears to catch the faintest snap of a twig. The wolf of the deep forest must grow up quickly. Puppies are soft and vulnerable, but a grown wolf is a weapon of nature. It is made of steel and grit. But here, within the circle of human firelight, something strange is happening. Because the human provides protection, and because the human provides food, the wolf no longer needs to grow up quite so fast. It no longer needs to be a weapon every single hour of the day. The wolves that were the most successful in our caves were not the most aggressive ones. They were the ones who stayed a little bit like puppies, even when they were grown. They were the ones with shorter muzzles, wider, rounder foreheads, and eyes that were larger and more expressive. This is Neoteny, the retaining of juvenile traits into adulthood. Think about the face of the wolf in our story. Over generations, the sharp, predatory lines are beginning to blur. The jaw is becoming slightly shorter. The teeth, once designed to crush the heavy bones of a bison, are becoming a little smaller. The ears, once always stiff and alert, might occasionally, just occasionally, tilt or even flop slightly. Why did this happen? It was a silent negotiation between our species. We humans, we are drawn to the features of infants. We are biologically programmed to feel a sense of protection and love when we see a round face, large eyes, and a soft expression. The wolves that looked more like babies were the ones we fed more often. They were the ones we allowed to sleep closer to our children. They were the ones we touched with our strange, hairless hands. And so, without knowing it, we were sculptors. We were carving a new animal out of the raw marble of the wolf. We were choosing gentleness over ferocity. We were choosing playfulness over aggression. Imagine the first time a grown wolf played. Not a puppy, but a full-grown predator, wagging its tail and playfully nipping at a piece of leather. To the wild, this was a waste of energy. But to the human, it was a joy. It was a bridge. It was the moment we realized that this creature wasn't just a guard, but a friend. Notice the weight of your own body now, sinking deeper into the mattress. Just as the wolf's spirit is sinking into the comfort of domestic life. The wild is a place of constant tension. But the cave is a place of relaxation. As the centuries pass, this neoteny changes the brain itself. The parts of the brain that control fear and aggression begin to shrink. The parts of the brain that control social interaction and communication begin to grow. The wolf is learning to look at us and see a parent. It is learning to look at us and see a leader. It is remaining a child of the pack forever. This is why, even today, when you look at a dog, you see a creature that never truly grows up. A creature that always wants to play, always wants to please, and always looks at you with the wide-eyed wonder of a pup. They are the children of the Pleistocene. The ones who refused to become cold. The ones who chose to stay soft in a world made of ice. The wind outside howls, trying to remind the wolf of its ancient heritage. It calls to the blood. It calls to the ancestors who hunted in the great white void. But the wolf doesn't move. It only shifts its weight and lets out a soft, contented grunt. It is comfortable in its new skin. It is happy in its preserved youth. We, too, are changed by this. By caring for a creature that remains young, we became more nurturing. We became more empathetic. We learned that survival isn't just about the spear, it's about the heart. It's about the connection between two beings who have decided to trust each other in the dark. Think about the silence of the snow outside. It is a hard silence. But the silence inside the cave is a soft one. It is the silence of a nursery. A place where a new kind of life is being born. Not the life of a wolf, but the life of a dog. The eternal puppy. The guardian who still knows how to play. As the embers fade further, the darkness in the cave becomes more intimate. The wolf's breathing is deep and steady. It is the breath of a creature that feels completely safe. A creature that knows it doesn't have to fight for its next meal. A creature that knows it is loved. Let that feeling of safety wash over you. Like the warmth of the fading fire. You are in a place where you don't have to be a warrior. You don't have to be on guard. You can let your own sharp edges soften. You can embrace your own peace. The transformation is almost complete. The wild is retreating, and the home is expanding. We are no longer alone in the universe. We have a companion who will never leave us. A companion who will always look at us with the eyes of that first wolf, who decided to stay young for us. The journey through the ice has led us here, to this quiet realization that the greatest strength is sometimes found in softness, and the greatest survival strategy is sometimes just a wag of a tail and a warm place to sleep. Breathe in the stillness. Breathe out the noise of the modern world. We are 30,000 years deep in the heart of the covenant, and the morning, though still distant, feels a little less cold. Stay in this moment. Let the words drift through your mind like the smoke from the fire. Soft, gray, and peaceful. Everything is as it should be. The wolf is asleep. The human is safe. And the world is turning, slowly, toward the light. In our next chapter, we will see this new team in action. The hunter's synergy. But for now, just rest. Rest in the preservation of youth. Rest in the neoteny of the soul. The night is long, and the story is vast, but we have all the time in the world. The glaciers are patient. The stars are eternal. And you are protected. Close your eyes a little tighter. Feel the warmth of the imaginary fur against your hand. Listen to the rhythm of the Pleistocene night. It is the sound of a world, finally, beginning to dream. The dawn is finally breaking. A thin, pale silver line is stretching across the eastern horizon, cutting through the indigo velvet of the night. We are stepping out of the cave now. The air is so cold, it feels like inhaling needles of ice. But we are not alone. Beside us, standing steady in the freezing wind, is the wolf. No longer a shadow, no longer a scavenger, but a partner. Tonight, we explore the hunter's synergy. The moment when two separate apex predators merged into a single, unstoppable force. Take a long, slow, deep breath. Feel the crystalline air of the Pleistocene filling your lungs. Imagine the vastness of the mammoth steppe, an endless ocean of frost-covered grass, stretching until the end of the world. In the distance, a herd of reindeer is moving, their silhouettes blurred by the morning mist. For a lone human, capturing one of these creatures in the open would be almost impossible. We are too slow, our senses too dull. But we have a secret weapon now. We have the wolf. Notice the wolf's posture. It is perfectly still, yet its body is vibrating with potential energy. Its eyes, those golden lamps, are locked on the movement a mile away. It isn't running ahead blindly. It is looking back at us. It is waiting. This is the synergy. This is the miracle. The wolf has the speed and the scent, but it has decided to follow our plan. We communicate in the language of whispers and gestures. A low hum, a slight tilt of the spear, a pointed finger toward the northern ridge. The wolf understands. It melts into the tall, white grass, becoming invisible. It is circling around the herd, using the wind to hide its own scent. It is driving the prey, not toward the forest, but toward the narrow pass, where we are waiting. Think about the intelligence required for this cooperation. To hunt together, two different species must learn to predict each other's thoughts. The wolf knows that the human has the long-range sting, the spear. The human knows that the wolf has the closing speed. Together, we are the perfect hunter. The brain and the tool, combined with the tooth and the claw. Feel the tension in the air. The silence is absolute. Even the wind seems to have stopped, watching this new union. Then, the signal. The wolf breaks cover, a streak of gray lightning against the snow. It doesn't strike the heart of the herd. It cuts off a single, stray reindeer, pushing it with surgical precision right into our path. The spear flies. The aim is true. The kill is quick. But the most important moment is what happens next. In the wild, a pack of wolves would descend upon the carcass, tearing and snarling, the strongest eating first, the weakest left with nothing. But here, by the frozen creek, the rules have changed. We approach the kill together. We do not fight. We do not growl. The human uses a stone blade, sharp as a diamond, to carve the meat. And the first portion, the best portion, is handed to the wolf. This is the social contract of the Ice Age. We are sharing the labor, so we share the reward. By feeding the wolf, we are ensuring that it will hunt with us again tomorrow. By protecting the human, the wolf is ensuring that it will always have a warm fire to return to. This synergy changed the trajectory of human history. Because we hunted together, we became more efficient. We spent less time chasing food and more time thinking. More time dreaming. This extra time allowed us to sit by the fire and tell stories. To paint the walls of our caves. To wonder about the stars. You could say that the dog is the reason we had the leisure to become civilized. Notice your own breathing now. Let it be as steady as the wolf's gait. In and out. The hunt is over, the bellies are full, and the bond is unbreakable. The mammoth steppe is a lonely place, but with the wolf, the silence is no longer frightening. It is a shared peace. Imagine walking back toward the cave, the sun now a cold, golden disk hanging low in the sky. You are carrying the meat, and the wolf is walking at your heel. Its tail is held high, a sign of pride and belonging. You are no longer just a man or a woman, you are a part of a pack. A pack that spans 2 worlds. This partnership allowed us to cross the Bering Land Bridge. It allowed us to survive the deepest winters of Siberia. It allowed us to thrive in environments that should have killed us. We were the dreamers, and they were the doers. We were the eyes, and they were the nose. As we reach the mouth of the cave, the shadows are growing long again. The fire is waiting for us. The synergy of the hunt now settles into the synergy of the home. We work together, we eat together, and tonight we will sleep together. Breathe in the safety of this moment. Feel the weight of the history behind this connection. Every time you see a dog working, whether it's herding sheep, or guiding the blind, or simply watching the front door, you are seeing the echo of this ancient synergy. It is a deep, biological resonance. A harmony that has played for 30,000 years. The world outside is still a dangerous place. There are still lions in the tall grass. There are still blizzards that can freeze the heart. But the fear is gone. Because when 2 predators stand as one, nothing in the wild can stand against them. Rest now, in the knowledge of this strength. Let the image of the hunter and the wolf fade into a soft, protective glow. You are not alone. You are part of the greatest team in the history of the world. The ice is cold, but the synergy is warm. The hunt is done, and the night is coming. But you can sleep soundly. The pack is complete. And the watch is shared. Stay with the silence. Let the slow rhythm of the Pleistocene morning carry you into a deeper rest. We have many more chapters to tell, many more fires to sit by. But for now, just breathe. And let the synergy be your peace. The sun has finally dipped below the jagged teeth of the western mountains, leaving behind a sky of deep violet and bruised orange. The hunt is over, the bellies are full, and the freezing wind of the tundra is beginning to howl once more, searching for any crack in the stone to enter. But inside our sanctuary, the fire is alive. It is the heart of our world. And tonight, we sit together, exploring the firelit bond. This is the moment where the partnership of the hunt transforms into the intimacy of the soul. Take a long, slow, deep breath. Feel the weight of the day leaving your limbs. Imagine the texture of the cave floor, the cold stone covered by thick layers of furs and dried grass. We are sitting close to the flames, the orange light dancing across the walls in a silent, ancient rhythm. And there, right beside you, is the wolf. It is no longer sitting at the entrance, guarding the dark. It has moved into the inner circle. It has moved into the light. Notice the heat. The radiant warmth of the fire is a luxury in this world of ice. As the wood pops and crackles, sending tiny diamonds of sparks toward the ceiling, the wolf lets out a long, shivering sigh. It is a sound of pure contentment. It rests its heavy head upon your thigh, a gesture of trust so profound, it humbles the heart. 30,000 years ago, this was the first time a human felt the weight of a friend that wasn't human. The bond of the firelight is different from the bond of the hunt. In the hunt, we were tools for one another. But here, in the stillness, we are companions. Feel the rhythm of the wolf's breathing, matching your own. In and out. Slow and steady. The rise and fall of its chest, the warmth of its fur against your skin, the faint scent of the wild and the wood smoke. This is the invisible thread that is sewing our two species together forever. Think about the silence of this moment. It is not a lonely silence. It is a shared one. Outside, the mammoth and the lion are still part of the cold, indifferent world. But inside, we have created a bubble of belonging. The human reaches out a hand that has held spears and stones all day, and touches the soft fur behind the wolf's ears. The wolf doesn't flinch. It doesn't growl. It leans into the touch, closing its eyes, surrendering to the comfort of a gentle hand. This touch is a revolution. It is the moment we discovered that we could care for something that was born to be wild. And the wolf discovered that the hand of a human could be a source of peace rather than a source of pain. We are learning the language of the heart. We are discovering that loyalty is a fire that burns even brighter than the one in front of us. The shadows on the cave wall, they look like giants dancing. They are the ghosts of our ancestors, watching this new union. They see the wolf's tail, giving a single, soft, thump against the ground. A heartbeat of the home. Every thump is a promise. Every sigh is a covenant. We are no longer two predators, we are a family. Imagine the stories that were told in this light. Even before we had words for loyalty or love, we had the feeling. We looked into those amber eyes, reflecting the embers, and we saw ourselves. We saw a survivor. We saw a soul that wanted to stay warm. We saw a friend who would die to protect this circle. And the wolf, looking at the human, saw a pack leader who provided a fire that never died. The night grows colder, and the frost begins to bloom like white flowers on the rocks near the entrance. But the firelit bond is a shield. We pull the furs closer, and the wolf moves even nearer, its body acting as a living heater. This is biological cooperation in its purest form. We give the wolf the safety of the cave, and the wolf gives us its own body heat, its own vigilance, and its own unwavering presence. As the embers settle, becoming a deep, pulsing red, the world feels very, very small. There is only the fire, the human, and the wolf. Everything else, the glaciers, the storms, the hungry predators of the dark, they are a million miles away. In this tiny circle of light, we have found the secret to surviving the ice. We found each other. Think about the millions of nights that followed this one. Nights in the deserts of Egypt, nights in the forests of Europe, nights in the modern homes of today. Every time a person sits with their dog by a fireplace or on a sofa, they are reliving this exact moment. They are feeling the echo of the firelit bond. It is a connection that hasn't changed in 30,000 years. It is the one thing the ice could never freeze. Notice how heavy your eyes are becoming. Feel the peace of the cave wrapping around your mind like a soft shroud. The wolf is now fully asleep, its breathing deep and rhythmic. Its paws occasionally twitch, perhaps it is dreaming of the hunt, or perhaps it is dreaming of the fire. You, too, are drifting. The journey of the 3 hours is still moving forward, but for now, the fire is enough. The bond is enough. The silence is beautiful. It is a silence filled with trust. A silence filled with the knowledge that when you wake up, the wolf will still be there. And when the wolf wakes up, you will still be there. The covenant is not just a deal, it is a home. Let the warmth of the firelit bond seep into your bones. Let it relax every muscle, from your forehead to your toes. You are safe. You are loved. You are part of the ancient pack. The night is a long one, but it is a shared one. And the stars above the cave, they are watching a miracle that will never end. Breathe and let go. The fire is low, but the bond is eternal. Rest in the light. Rest in the warmth. Rest in the presence of your oldest friend. The fire is burning low now. The flames have retreated, leaving behind a landscape of glowing charcoal that looks like a miniature city of embers. Outside, the great Pleistocene winter continues its relentless march, but inside, a slow and quiet revolution is taking place. Not just in the behavior of our companion, but in its very biology. Tonight, we immerse ourselves in the mystery of domestication syndrome, the physical transformation of the wild into the familiar. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the weight of the ancient world pressing softly against your senses. As we sit in this dim, amber light, look at the wolf sleeping by your feet. If you could look closely enough, through the layers of time, you would see that the sharp, jagged edges of the predator are beginning to soften. This is not just a change of heart. It is a change of form. A rewriting of the genetic code, authored by the heat of the fire and the kindness of a human hand. In the wild, every feature of the wolf was a tool for the kill. The muzzle had to be long, to provide room for massive muscles and rows of crushing teeth. The skull had to be thick, to withstand the impact of a struggling bison. The eyes had to be narrow, intense, focused on the horizon with a cold, predatory gaze. But here, in the safety of our shadow, those features are starting to shift. Notice the head of the creature beside you. Over thousands of years, and countless generations of living near our hearths, the muzzle is becoming slightly shorter. The forehead is becoming more rounded, creating a space that looks almost human. The brain itself is changing, shrinking in the areas that govern fear, and growing in the areas that govern social understanding. The wolf is literally losing its wild brain and growing a domestic one. But the most beautiful changes are the ones that serve no purpose in survival, but serve everything in friendship. Think about the ears. In the forest, a floppy ear is a death sentence. A wolf needs its ears to be stiff, upright, constantly swiveling to catch the snap of a twig a mile away. But here, in the quiet of our cave, some of the puppies are being born, with ears that fold over. Ears that drop down, giving them a look of innocence, a look of softness. In the wild, nature would have discarded them. But here, we choose them. We find them beautiful. We find them approachable. And the tails. The straight, bushy tail of the wolf, once a rudder for the high-speed chase, is beginning to curl. It is beginning to wag in a way that is rhythmic and joyful. This curl, this wag, is the outward sign of an internal peace. It is the biological manifestation of trust. We must also think about the colors. The wolf of the tundra is a master of camouflage, dressed in shades of gray, white, and black, to blend into the shadows of the rocks and the snow. But as they live with us, strange patches of white appear on their chests. Spots of brown appear above their eyes. Their coats are becoming a canvas of diversity. This is domestication syndrome. A strange phenomenon where, as an animal loses its fear of humans, its body begins to change in ways that make it look less like a hunter and more like a companion. Feel your own heartbeat, slowing down, matching the deep, steady thrum of the history we are exploring. The wolf is shedding its armor. It is giving up its camouflage. It is making itself vulnerable to us, because it knows that we will provide the protection it once provided for itself. This is the ultimate sacrifice of the wild. To give up being a god of the forest, to become a member of a human family. Imagine the chemistry moving through the wolf's veins. The adrenaline, the chemical of fight and flight, is dropping. The oxytocin, the chemical of love and bonding, is rising. This shift in hormones is what causes the physical changes. It is as if the love we feel for them is literally molding their bones and painting their fur. The human hunter, sitting in the fading light, reaches out to stroke the creature's head. They notice the fur feels softer, less coarse than the wolves that still howl from the distant ridges. The eyes, when they open, are warmer. They have more white in them, making them look more like our own eyes. We are creating a mirror. We are looking into the dark and seeing a reflection of our own humanity looking back at us. This process, this syndrome, is why the dog is the most diverse animal on the planet today. From the tiny hunters to the giant guardians, they all carry the legacy of this ancient softening. They are the wolves that chose to be kind. And in their kindness, they found a new kind of immortality. The night is deep now, and the embers are nothing more than a faint, pulsing memory of the fire. The cave is silent, save for the sound of two different hearts, beating in one rhythm. The transformation is not a loss, it is an evolution. The wolf hasn't lost its strength, it has found a new purpose for it. It doesn't need to be a nightmare anymore. It has become a dream. As you drift further and further into the quiet layers of sleep, think about this genetic covenant. Think about the thousands of years of patience, the thousands of years of shared meals, that it took to turn a predator into a friend. Every feature of the dog you know today is a letter in a love letter written over 30,000 years. The floppy ears, the curled tail, the expressive eyes, they are all gifts given to us by the wild in exchange for our fire. The journey of the 3 hours is still unfolding. We have traveled through the ice, and through the hunt, and now through the very blood of the companion. We are seeing the birth of the dog. Not through a sudden miracle, but through the slow, steady, patient work of companionship. Breathe in the peace of this change. Let the softness of the story relax your mind. The world outside is still cold, and the stars are still distant, but here, in the heart of the bond, everything is transforming. Everything is becoming home. Rest now. The shadows are long, and the night is kind. The syndrome of domestication is the syndrome of love. And it is a beautiful, quiet, and eternal change. Listen to the silence and feel the warmth. You are not alone. The companion is here. Changed for you, just as you have been changed by them. Sleep, and let the history carry you away. The cave, our stable sanctuary for so many generations, is now behind us. The fire that once warmed our stone walls has been extinguished, leaving only cold ash and a memory of light. We are standing at the edge of the known world, looking out over a horizon that seems to have no end. A vast, shimmering expanse of white and gold, where the sky and the earth meet in a silent embrace. Tonight, we embark on the Great Migration, the journey of the wanderers and the dogs who walked beside them across the frozen bridges of the world. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the cold, crisp air of the ancient morning, filling your lungs, sharp and clean. Imagine the feeling of a heavy pack on your shoulders and the rhythmic crunch of your boots on the hard-packed snow. But you are not walking this path alone. Beside you, always within reach, is the companion. Their paws leave a parallel track in the frost, a second line of history, moving toward the unknown. In this era, humans were not settlers. We were the children of the wind. We followed the great herds of mammoth and bison, because where they went, life went. But this migration was different. It was a journey of thousands of miles, spanning centuries, and entire continents. We were moving out of the familiar valleys of Europe and Asia, pushed by the changing climate, and pulled by the promise of new lands. Think about the scale of this movement. We are walking across the Bering Land Bridge, a vast, tundra-covered plain that once connected Siberia to Alaska. A bridge that exists only because the oceans have been sucked up into the great glaciers. The wind here is relentless. It screams across the flatlands, carrying the grit of the earth and the sting of the ice. In this bridge between worlds, the bond between human and dog was the only thing that kept the cold at bay. Notice the dog's role in this migration. They are no longer just guardians of the fire. They have become the navigators. Their noses are like ancient compasses, catching the scent of a distant herd or the smell of water hidden beneath the frozen crust of a lake. When the blizzards come, and the world becomes a white void where there is no up or down, the human follows the dog. We follow the rhythmic sway of their tail, and the confident placement of their feet. We trust them to lead us through the ghost-white silence, to a place of safety. This was the first time our species moved as a unit. We weren't just a tribe of humans, we were a multi-species colony. The dogs carried our burdens. On their backs, or on simple wooden sleds, they pulled the heavy furs, the extra tools, and the precious supplies of dried meat. Without them, we could never have carried enough to survive these empty miles. Without them, the Great Migration would have been a walk into a grave. Feel your own legs, becoming heavy with the imagined miles of the journey. Imagine the exhaustion of a long day of walking, and the relief of finally finding a sheltered hollow among the rocks to rest. As the sun sets, casting long, blood-red shadows across the snow, the human and the dog huddle together. Not in a cave, but under the open sky. The dog's body is a living blanket, their warmth seeping through your furs, their heartbeat a steady drum that tells you that you are still alive. The stars above the Bering Land Bridge were the same stars you see tonight, but they felt closer then. They felt like the only witnesses to this epic crossing. Beneath those stars, the dog's ancestors and our ancestors shared the same dreams. Dreams of a land where the grass was green, and the sun stayed in the sky for longer than a few hours. We were moving toward the Americas, toward a new world, carrying the seeds of civilization with us in the form of a wolf-turned friend. Think about the silence of the migration. Miles and miles of walking without a word spoken. There was no need for words. The creak of the sled, the panting of the dogs, the whistling of the wind, this was the music of the journey. We learned the landscape through the dog's reactions. A sudden stop meant a predator was near. A joyful bark meant a path had been found. We were learning to read the earth through their paws. As we moved south, into the heart of the new continent, the ice began to give way to forests. The white world began to turn green. The air became heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. The migration was not just a movement across space, but a movement through time. The dogs were changing as they moved. Some became leaner for the heat, some became heavier for the mountains. But their loyalty remained the one constant, in a world that was constantly shifting. Imagine the first time a human and a dog stood on a cliffside, looking out over the vast plains of the American interior. Millions of bison, like a sea of brown fur, moving below. The human didn't just see food. They saw a future. And the dog, sitting beside them, felt the same sense of arrival. The long walk was over. The new world had begun. This migration is why the dog is everywhere today. From the highest peaks of the Andes to the frozen wastes of the Arctic, they went where we went. They were our shadows, our scouts, and our strength. Every mile we traveled, every river we crossed, every mountain we climbed, we did it together. The Great Migration was the ultimate test of the covenant, and we passed it, side by side. Now, let the vastness of that journey settle into your mind. Feel the immense distance we have covered in this story. 30,000 years, thousands of miles, and yet, the bond is as tight as it was on that first night by the fire. You are resting now, your own journey for the day is done. The lights are low, and the world is quiet. The migration has led us to this moment. To this bed, to this peace. The great explorers of the past are now the guardians of your sleep. You can hear the faint, rhythmic breathing of the history in the silence of your room. The snow is gone, the ice has melted, but the companion is still here. Breathe in the legacy of the travelers. Breathe out the stress of the modern world. You are safe in the new land. The camp is settled. The fire is small, but it is enough. The stars are watching, and the journey, though it continues, has found a place of rest. Sleep now, in the tracks of the ancestors. Let the rhythm of the long walk carry you into the deep, green forests of your dreams. The great migration has brought you home. The icy winds of the Pleistocene have finally faded, replaced by the warm, golden breath of the desert. The vast glaciers have retreated, and in their wake, great civilizations have risen from the dust and the riverbeds. We find ourselves now in the heart of ancient Egypt, where the sun is a powerful god and the night is a gateway to another world. Tonight, we explore Guardians of the Afterlife. The moment when our companion stepped beyond the boundaries of the living to watch over the souls of the dead. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the dry, heat-scented air of the Nile Valley filling your lungs. Imagine the sound of the river, a low, eternal pulse against the reeds. The world here is made of sandstone and shadows. And as we walk through the towering pillars of a silent temple, we see the silhouette of a creature we recognize. It is the jackal, the wild ancestor of the desert dog, standing tall and motionless against the setting sun. In this ancient land, the bond between human and dog took on a mystical, spiritual dimension. The Egyptians observed the dogs of the desert, how they lingered near the edges of the necropolis, how they watched over the graves with an unwavering gaze. They began to believe that these creatures were not just scavengers, but messengers. They were the ones who knew the paths through the darkness. They were the guardians of the afterlife. Think about the god Anubis, the jackal-headed deity who guided souls to the Hall of Truth. Why did the ancients choose a dog-like figure for such a sacred task? Because they knew, from thousands of years of shared history, that no one is more loyal than a dog. If a dog could guide you through a blizzard on Earth, surely it could guide you through the shadows of the underworld. If a dog could protect your camp from lions, surely it could protect your soul from the demons of the night. Notice the statues of the silent watchers. Carved from black basalt, their eyes inlaid with gold. They sit at the entrances of tombs. Ears pricked, eternally alert. They are the Anubis hounds. Their presence promised the deceased that they would not be alone in the great beyond. Just as a puppy once slept by a hunter's feet in a cold cave, these sacred guardians would sleep by the sarcophagus, keeping a silent vigil for all eternity. Feel your own body, becoming as still as those ancient statues, sinking into the softness of your bed, as if you were resting on the golden sands of the Sahara. The connection between us and them has now transcended physical survival. It has become a matter of the spirit. The dog has become the bridge between the world we know and the mysteries we fear. In the houses of the pharaohs and the huts of the farmers, dogs were given names that reflected this deep respect. Names like Reliable, Brave, and North Wind. When a favorite dog passed away, the family would mourn as if they had lost a child. They would wrap the dog in fine linen, perfume them with myrrh, and mummify them with the greatest care. They wanted their companions to be ready for the journey ahead. They wanted to ensure that in the fields of reeds, in the Egyptian paradise, their loyal friend would be waiting for them. Imagine a funeral procession moving slowly under the heat of the midday sun. The priests are chanting, the incense is thick in the air. And among the offerings of gold and grain, there is a small, clay statue of a dog. It is there to provide comfort to the soul, to be a familiar face in a strange, new world. Do not be afraid, the statue seems to say. I have walked with you in life, and I will walk with you now. Think about the silence of the tomb. It is a silence that lasts for millennia. Inside, the walls are painted with scenes of the afterlife. You see the hunter, now a spirit, walking through lush green fields. And right there, at his heel, is his dog. Chasing spiritual birds, resting under eternal palm trees. The Egyptians couldn't imagine a heaven without their dogs. For them, a paradise without a wagging tail was no paradise at all. This belief in the dog as a guardian of the soul spread far and wide. From the three-headed Cerberus of the Greeks to the hounds of the Celtic underworld. Across every culture, the dog remained the one creature trusted to walk between worlds. They are the masters of the threshold. They are the ones who sit at the gate, deciding who is a friend and who is a stranger. As the night deepens in your own world, and the shadows of your room grow long, feel the presence of this ancient protection. You are being watched over, not just by a pet, but by a lineage of guardians that stretches back to the dawn of time. A lineage that has stood watch over kings and commoners alike. A lineage that knows no fear. The stars above the pyramids are the same stars that watch over you tonight. They have seen the rise and fall of empires, but they have never seen the bond between human and dog break. It is the only thing that remains constant in a world of shifting sands. The guardian is still there, sitting at the foot of your bed or curled up in your heart. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the realms of the sacred. We have seen the wolf become a hunter, the hunter become a traveler, and the traveler become a god. The evolution of the companion is complete. They have mastered the earth, and now they have mastered the stars. Breathe in the ancient peace of the temple. Breathe out the worries of your modern life. You are safe. You are protected by the keepers of secrets. The shadows are not your enemy, they are simply the domain of your friend. The one who sees in the dark, so that you may sleep in the light. Rest your mind in the golden dust of history. Let the stories of the afterlife carry you into a deep, dreamless slumber. The Nile is flowing, the jackal is watching, and the soul is at rest. The silent covenant has become an eternal one. Everything is quiet now. The desert wind has settled. The torches in the temple have burned low. And the guardian is closing its eyes only when it knows that you are finally, safely, asleep. Stay with this peace. Let it wrap around you like a linen shroud, warm, soft, and protective. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the afterlife. Sleep, and know that you are never, truly, alone. The golden sands of Egypt have slowly shifted, transforming into the paved stone roads of the Roman Empire. The mystical silence of the temples has been replaced by the rhythmic, steady, iron beat of the legions marching toward the edges of the known world. But even here, amidst the clatter of shields and the glint of imperial eagles, our companion remains. Tonight, we explore the Roman legions and war dogs. The era when the dog became a soldier, a sentry, and a symbol of Rome's unbreakable will. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the cool, structured air of a Roman evening, filling your lungs. Imagine you are standing on the Appian Way, the great road that leads to the heart of the eternal city. The sun is setting behind the marble columns, casting long, imperial shadows across the landscape. And there, at the gates of the military camp, stands a Molossian dog. A creature of immense power, its muscles like carved granite, its gaze as steady as a centurion's resolve. In the Roman world, the dog was integrated into every layer of society, but it was in the military that their bond with humans reached a new level of discipline. These were not just pets, they were Cain's pugnaces. War dogs. Bred for strength and loyalty, they were the heavy infantry of the animal kingdom. They wore collars of spiked iron to protect their necks, and sometimes even leather armor to shield their chests from the arrows of the barbarians. Think about the life of a legionnaire. Stationed on the cold, fog-shrouded borders of Britannia, at Hadrian's Wall, thousands of miles from the warmth of Italy, surrounded by hostile forests and ancient mysteries. In the dead of night, when the human guards were tired and the mist made eyes play tricks, it was the dog who kept Rome safe. Their ears could catch the silent approach of a Pictish scout long before a human could hear a sound. Their growl was the first alarm, a low, vibrating warning that echoed through the stone fortifications. Notice the deep, psychological connection formed in these camps. A soldier and his dog shared the same rations, the same tent, and the same dangers. To the Roman soldier, the dog was more than a weapon, it was a commilito, a fellow soldier. In the loneliness of the frontier, the dog was the only bridge back to the feeling of home. It was a piece of the hearth, transplanted into the theater of war. Feel your own body relaxing into the discipline of the night, sinking into your bed as if you were resting after a long march through the Gallic forests. The world around you is secure because the sentries are on duty. The cave canem, beware of the dog, was not just a warning on a mosaic floor in Pompeii, it was a statement of Roman security. A dog at the door meant a household at peace. A dog at the camp meant an empire protected. Imagine the Roman cursus publicus, the imperial postal service. Dogs were often used as messengers, carrying vital scrolls across dangerous territories. They were fast, they were discreet, and they were fiercely protective of the words they carried. They were the silent couriers of the Caesars, moving like ghosts through the mountain passes of the Alps. They lived a life of constant motion, a life dedicated to the service of the state. Think about the Roman lariarium, the household shrine. Even there, the dog was present. They were believed to be favorites of the Lares, the spirits that guarded the home and the crossroads. The Romans recognized that the dog's loyalty was a divine quality. To harm a faithful dog was seen as an insult to the gods of the hearth. They saw in the dog the virtues they prized most: fides, gravitas, and constantia, loyalty, seriousness, and constancy. In the great arenas of the Colosseum, we see the darker side of this history, where dogs were made to fight beasts from across the world. But even in those cruel spectacles, the Roman chroniclers wrote of the dog's incredible bravery. They wrote of dogs who refused to leave their fallen masters, even in the heat of battle. They saw the dog as the ultimate embodiment of the devotio, the sacrificial vow of the warrior. Imagine a retired centurion, living on a small farm in the countryside of Tuscany. His days of war are over. Beside him, an old Molossan dog rests in the sun, its muzzle white with age, its body scarred from the campaigns in Germania. They sit together in the silence of the olive groves. The dog's tail gives a slow, rhythmic thump against the dry earth. It is the same rhythm we heard in the cave 30,000 years ago. The setting has changed, the empire has grown, but the bond remains, quiet and eternal. As the night deepens in your room, and the modern world fades away, feel the weight of this Roman legacy. The structure, the protection, the unwavering duty. You are being guarded by a history of soldiers and sentinels, a lineage of protectors that helped build the foundations of the world. You can sleep now, because the watch is being kept, as it has been for 1,000 years. The stars above Rome are the same stars that watch over you tonight. They have seen the march of the legions and the fall of the emperors, but they have never seen a more faithful servant than the dog at the soldier's side. The guardian is still there, at the foot of your bed, or in the shadows of your thoughts. Vigilant, strong, undefeated. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the halls of power and the fields of battle. We have seen the companion become a god, and now a warrior. The evolution continues, growing deeper, growing more complex, yet remaining as simple as a shared breath. Breathe in the strength of the empire. Breathe out the chaos of your day. You are safe. You are under the protection of the Legion. The borders are secure, the camp is quiet, and the night is yours to enjoy. The silent covenant is now a law of nature. Everything is still now. The torches in the Roman camp have burned down to a soft glow. The iron shields have been laid aside. And the war dog, finally, lets its heavy head rest on its paws, closing its eyes only when it knows that the world is at peace. Stay with this feeling of security. Let it wrap around you like a heavy wool Roman cloak. Warm, solid, and protective. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the legions. Sleep, and know that the guardian is on the watch. The iron beat of the Roman legions has slowly faded into the distance, replaced by the tolling of heavy bronze bells from a stone cathedral. The great roads of the empire are now covered in moss and shadow, leading us toward the towering spires and thick stone walls of the Middle Ages. In this world of knights, castles, and heraldry, our companion has found a new throne. Tonight, we explore medieval hounds and social status, the era when the dog became a symbol of noble blood, a living crest of honor, and a guardian of the royal hearth. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the cool, damp air of a medieval evening, filling your lungs. Imagine you are standing in the great hall of a mountain castle. The walls are draped in heavy tapestries, telling stories of heroic hunts and legendary kings. A massive fire is roaring in the hearth, throwing long, dancing shadows across the stone floor. And there, stretched out on a rug of thick wool, is a greyhound, its body lean and elegant, or perhaps a great St. Hubert hound, its ears long and velvety. In this age, the dog you kept told the world exactly who you were. In the medieval world, a dog was not merely a pet, it was a reflection of your rank, a living extension of your status. To the nobility, the hunt was more than just a search for food, it was a sacred ritual of power and skill. And at the heart of that ritual was the hound. Different dogs were assigned to different ranks of society, as if by divine law. A king might be seen with a great greyhound for its speed, or a mastiff for its power. A lady of the court would carry a small spaniel or a comforter dog in her sleeves, a source of warmth and a symbol of her refinement. Think about the life within the castle walls. Outside, the world was harsh and unpredictable, but inside the great hall, there was a strange and beautiful order. The dogs were the only creatures allowed to move freely between the high table of the lords and the rushes on the floor. They were the silent witnesses to secret treaties, royal weddings, and the quiet whispers of the court. They were the confidants of kings. A knight might trust his dog more than his fellow soldiers, because a dog's loyalty was seen as the purest form of chivalry. Fierce in the field, gentle in the hall, was the motto of the medieval hound. Notice the deep, spiritual reverence the Middle Ages held for these animals. In the illuminated manuscripts of the monks, we see dogs painted in the margins, their bodies decorated with gold leaf. They were often depicted at the feet of saints, or lying faithfully on the tombs of knights. If you look at the stone effigies in the old cathedrals, you will see a dog carved at the feet of the noblemen. It was a symbol that their loyalty would follow them even into eternity. It was the ultimate mark of a life well lived, to have a faithful hound guarding your final rest. Feel your own body sinking into the heavy, protective stillness of the castle. Sinking into your bed, as if you were resting on a pile of soft furs after a long day in the forest. The world around you is safe, because the castle gates are barred, and the hounds are alert. The sound of a distant, low baying of a hound is not a sound of fear, but a sound of security. It is the voice of the guardian, echoing through the mists of time. Imagine the grand venery, the royal hunt. Hundreds of hounds, each bred for a specific task, moving as one through the ancient oak forests. The sound of the hunting horn, a lonely, haunting note, calling to the pack. To own a pack of well-bred hounds was a display of immense wealth. They were fed the finest meats, sometimes even better than the peasants who worked the land. They had their own keepers, their own physicians, and their own songs. They were the elite of the animal world, the aristocrats of the forest. Think about the Maltese or the Bolognese dogs, the tiny lapdogs of the queens. In a world of cold stone and drafty corridors, these small creatures were living heaters. They were called comforters because they were believed to have the power to draw out sickness and ease the pains of the heart. A queen would sit by the window, watching the snow fall over the battlements, with a small, warm, breathing bundle in her lap. In that moment, she wasn't a ruler of a nation, she was just a person, seeking the simple, uncomplicated love of a dog. Even the laws of the land reflected the dog's status. In some kingdoms, to harm a nobleman's hawk or hound was a crime punishable by death. The forest laws dictated who could own which breed. A commoner was often forbidden from owning a greyhound, because that grace was reserved only for the highborn. The dog was a boundary, a line drawn in the sand between the classes. But inside the dog's heart, there was no such thing as rank. They loved the king and the servant with the same unwavering, ferocious devotion. Imagine a weary traveler arriving at a monastery in the middle of a winter storm. The monks open the door, and beside them stands a great, shaggy dog. A progenitor of the street Bernard. These dogs were the silent brothers of the church, trained to find lost souls in the mountain passes. They carried no status but the status of mercy. They were the guardians of the weary. In the silence of the cloister, the dog's rhythmic breathing was the only sound that matched the prayers of the monks. As the night deepens in your own world, and the modern lights fade into the shadows, feel the weight of this medieval legacy. The honor, the chivalry, and the quiet dignity of the faithful hound. You are being guarded by a history of kings and knights. A lineage of protectors that stood watch in the great halls of Europe. You can sleep now, because the watch is being kept, as it has been for hundreds of winters. The stars above the castle spires are the same stars that watch over you tonight. They have seen the rise of dynasties and the fall of empires, but they have never seen a more noble heart than the dog lying by the hearth. The guardian is still there, at the foot of your bed, or in the tapestries of your dreams. noble, graceful, ever faithful. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the age of chivalry and the rituals of the court. We have seen the companion become a warrior, and now, a symbol of status. The evolution continues, refining the bond, making it more elegant, yet keeping the ancient spark of the wolf alive in every wag of the tail. Breathe in the peace of the great hall. Breathe out the noise of the outside world. You are safe. You are under the protection of the castle. The fire is warm, the stone is solid, and the night is long and peaceful. The silent covenant is now a noble tradition. Everything is still now. The torches in the castle have burned down to small, golden eyes. The heavy oak doors are shut tight. And the great hound, finally, lets out a deep, contented sigh, closing its eyes only when it knows that the king and the kingdom are at rest. Stay with this feeling of nobility. Let it wrap around you like a heavy, velvet, royal cloak. Warm, rich, and protective. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the hounds. Sleep, and know that you are in the presence of greatness. The grand stone halls of the medieval castles are slowly dissolving, and we are entering a space that is not made of stone or wood, but of thought and biological memory. We are stepping into the deep, quiet corridors of the human mind. Tonight, we explore a concept that is as profound as it is mysterious. The genetic RAM upgrade. The moment when the dog didn't just share our fire, but began to share the burden of our very survival, freeing our brains to dream, to build, and to conquer. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the stillness of your own mind, as the world outside fades into a distant hum. Imagine the human brain, 30,000 years ago. It was a brain under constant, relentless pressure. To survive in the wild, a human had to be everything, at all times. You had to be the ears that never slept. You had to be the nose that detected the leopard in the tall grass. You had to be the eyes that scanned the horizon for the slightest movement of a predator. Your mental energy, your RAM, was almost entirely consumed by the singular task of staying alive. But then, the dog arrived. And something extraordinary began to happen. As we sit here in the dim light of history, consider the wolf's contribution to the human psyche. The dog has senses that are 1,000 times more sensitive than our own. They hear frequencies we cannot imagine. They smell emotions in the air before we even feel them. When the dog took up its position at the mouth of the cave, or the gate of the farm, it did something more than just guard. It took over the background processes of the human brain. Think about the relief, the sudden, immense mental space that opened up for our ancestors. For the first time, a human could fall into a deep, heavy sleep, knowing that a pair of ears was still awake. For the first time, a hunter could focus entirely on the craftsmanship of a spear, or the beauty of a cave painting, because the dog was handling the vigilance. We outsourced our survival to them. We handed them the keys to our security, and in return, our brains were given a genetic RAM upgrade. Notice how your own body feels when you know someone is watching over you. The tension in your neck dissolves. Your heart rate slows. Your mind, no longer needed for constant scanning, begins to wander. It begins to imagine. Scientists believe that this partnership is one of the reasons the human brain was able to grow in complexity. Because the dog was our radar, we could afford to become architects. Because the dog was our alarm, we could afford to become poets. We gave them the task of being the wild part of us, so that we could focus on being civilized. Imagine the early human, sitting by the fire, with a dog's head resting on their knee. In that silence, the human is looking at the stars. They aren't looking for danger, they are looking for patterns. They are naming the constellations. They are wondering where the sun goes at night. This wonder, this philosophy, was made possible by the quiet, rhythmic breathing of the dog at their side. The dog's presence was the buffer that allowed human culture to bloom. We often think of ourselves as the masters and the dogs as the servants. But in the language of evolution, the dog was the greatest efficiency upgrade we ever received. They were the living hardware that boosted our mental software. By taking the burden of fear off our shoulders, they allowed us to invent the wheel, the sail, and the written word. Every book ever written, every cathedral ever built, carries a silent thank you to the dog, who was watching the door while the human was busy thinking. Feel the deep, cooling peace of this realization. Sinking into your bed, as if you are releasing a weight you didn't even know you were carrying. The dog is not just a companion, they are a part of our biological operating system. They are the guardians of our peace of mind. Think about the modern world. Even today, in our busy, loud, and stressful lives, the presence of a dog has the same effect. When you pet a dog, your cortisol levels drop. Your blood pressure stabilizes. Your brain enters a state of rest and digest. This is the ancient code, still running in the background. The dog is still telling your brain, I am watching. You can rest. You can think. You can dream. The synergy we discussed in the hunt has become a synergy of the spirit. They are the keepers of the senses, so we can be the keepers of the stories. They are the experts of the now, so we can be the experts of the future. This division of labor, this genetic partnership, is what made us human. Imagine a world without this upgrade. A world where we still had to jump at every snap of a twig. A world where sleep was always light and dangerous. We would be a different species. A smaller, more fearful species. But we are not. We are the dreamers of the great ice, the ones who conquered the globe with a four-legged radar by our side. As the night deepens in your own room, and the silence grows heavy, feel the gratitude for this shared history. The dog at the foot of your bed, or the memory of the dog you once loved, is still providing that upgrade. They are still creating the space for your dreams to take flight. You can let go now. You can drift into the deep, blue ocean of sleep, because the guardian of your subconscious is on duty. The stars above are quiet, witnesses to this 30,000-year-old brain sync. They have seen us move from the firelight to the moonlight, always with the companion. The guardian is still there, holding the perimeter of the dark, so you can explore the infinity of your imagination. The journey of the 3 hours is now touching the very essence of who we are. We have seen the hunter become a warrior, and the warrior become a god, and now, the god become the guardian of our thoughts. The evolution is reaching its highest peak. A union of two minds, working in perfect harmony. Breathe in the silence of a brain at rest. Breathe out the clutter of the day. You are safe. Your mental RAM is clear. The background processes are handled. The world is quiet, and the night is yours to explore, in the safety of your dreams. Everything is still now. The ancient fire of the mind has settled into a soft, protective glow. the wolf and the human are no longer two, they are one story. And the dog, finally, lets out that long, shivering sigh, confirming that the world is secure. Stay with this peace. Let it wrap around you like a cool, silk, mental veil. Light, airy, and perfectly calm. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the upgrade. Sleep, and know that your mind is free to wander wherever it chooses. The heavy iron bells of the medieval cathedrals have faded, and the air is now thick with the scent of coal smoke, damp cobblestones, and the rhythmic clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages. We have arrived in the 19th century, the era of gaslight and grand ballrooms. Tonight, we explore the Victorian transformation, the pivotal moment when the dog was no longer just a worker or a noble hunter, but became a masterpiece of human design. The era where the pet as we know it was truly born. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the cool, misty air of a London evening filling your lungs. Imagine you are standing in a grand Victorian parlor. The room is filled with heavy velvet curtains, dark mahogany furniture, and the soft, ticking sound of a grandfather clock. And there, sitting on a silk cushion near the fireplace, is a dog that looks very different from the wolves of our past. It might be a tiny, elegant King Charles Spaniel, or a perfectly groomed poodle. In this age, the dog became a living reflection of human taste and ambition. For 30,000 years, nature and necessity had shaped the dog. But in the Victorian era, humans took the brush into their own hands. This was the age of the breed standard. The moment when we decided that a dog shouldn't just be good at a job, it should look a certain way. We began to sculpt them like clay. We wanted the ears to be just so, the coat to be a specific texture, the tail to have a particular curve. We were no longer just partners in survival, we were architects of beauty. Think about the intensity of this change. In just a few decades, more breeds were created than in the previous 10,000 years. The Victorian middle class was rising, and they wanted companions that mirrored their own status and refinement. They brought dogs inside, away from the barns and the kennels, and onto the sofas. This was the great softening. The guardian of the cave had become the ornament of the home. Notice the quiet, meticulous care that went into this transformation. This was the birth of the first dog shows, like Crufts in London. People would gather in grand halls to admire the symmetry of a muzzle or the depth of a chest. The dog had become a hobby, a passion, and a symbol of domestic perfection. But beneath the ribbons and the grooming, the ancient heart of the wolf was still beating. Even the tiniest lapdog, sleeping on a lace pillow, still carried the DNA of the hunter that once stood against the mammoth. Feel your own body sinking into the heavy, comfortable stillness of this era. Sinking into your bed as if you were resting on the deep, plush cushions of a Victorian drawing room. The world outside is bustling with the sounds of the Industrial Revolution, but here, in the glow of the gaslight, everything is calm. Everything is in its proper place. The dog is no longer a tool for the hunt, but a companion for the heart. Imagine Queen Victoria herself, sitting in her garden at Osborne House. She was a woman who ruled an empire that spanned the globe, but her greatest comfort often came from her dogs. From her beloved Dash, the spaniel of her youth, to the collies and Pomeranians of her later years. She helped change the way the entire world viewed animals. Because the Queen loved her dogs, the world learned to see them as sentient beings, worthy of protection, and kindness. This was the birth of the animal welfare movement. The Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals found its strength in this era. Think about the working dog during this transition. While some dogs were moving onto cushions, others were becoming specialized in ways we had never seen. The Border Collie was being perfected on the misty hills of Scotland. The Bloodhound was being refined for its incredible nose. The Terrier was being bred to be the fearless protector of the granary. Every job a human had, there was now a dog designed perfectly to help. We weren't just outsourcing our RAM anymore, we were creating specialized software for every task. The Victorian era also gave us the rescue dog. In the crowded, foggy streets of London, thousands of stray dogs lived in the shadows. But for the first time, people began to build shelters. The Battersea Dogs Home opened its doors, reflecting a new, empathetic human spirit. We began to realize that we owed these creatures a debt of gratitude. That the covenant was a two-way street. If they guarded our sleep, we must guard their lives. Imagine a Victorian child sleeping in a nursery under the watchful eye of a large, gentle Newfoundland. This Nana dog was a common sight in the homes of the era. They were the protectors of the next generation. The wolf of the Ice Age had become the nanny of the Industrial Age. The ancient fear of the dark was now replaced by the comforting, rhythmic sound of a dog's tail thumping against the nursery floor. Trust had become absolute. As the night deepens in your own room, and the modern world fades into a soft, sepia tone, feel the legacy of this transformation. The elegance, the variety, and the deep, domestic peace. You are being guarded by a history of refinement and care. A lineage of companions that were chosen for their beauty and their heart. You can sleep now, because the world has been made safe for the gentle. The stars above the London fogs were the same stars that watch over you tonight. They have seen the world change from stone to iron, from wood to gaslight, but they have never seen the bond between human and dog waver. It only grows deeper, more intricate, and more profound. The guardian is still there, at the foot of your bed, or in the velvet shadows of your mind. Sophisticated, loyal, eternal. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the age of invention and the birth of the modern pet. We have seen the companion become a warrior, a symbol of status, and now a member of the family. The evolution is almost complete. The wild has been invited in, and it has decided to stay. Breathe in the scent of old books and lavender. Breathe out the rush of the 21st century. You are safe. You are in the parlor of history. The fire is low, the curtains are drawn, and the night is long and undisturbed. The silent covenant is now a household promise. Everything is still now. The gaslights have been dimmed to a soft, blue glow. The carriages have stopped their clatter on the stones. And the Victorian dog, finally, lets out a deep, contented sigh, closing its eyes only when it knows that the home and the heart are secure. Stay with this feeling of elegance. Let it wrap around you like a soft, silk, paisley shawl. Warm, comforting, and protective. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the transition. Sleep, and know that the companion is right where they belong. The gaslights of the Victorian streets are fading, and the heavy velvet curtains of the parlor are dissolving into a soft, microscopic world of light and energy. We are leaving the world of history and stepping into the world of biology. into the very chemistry of the soul. Tonight, we explore oxytocin, the invisible thread. The biological bridge that proves that the bond between human and dog is not just a choice, but a destiny written in our very blood. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the air moving through your body, a silent river of life. Imagine you are sitting in a quiet room, and your dog is resting their head upon your knee. As you look into their eyes, and they look back into yours, something extraordinary is happening. Something invisible to the naked eye, but more powerful than any law of man. A chemical message is being sent, a silent "I love you" that travels from brain to brain, through the ancient pathways of the heart. This is the miracle of oxytocin, often called the love hormone or the bonding molecule. For millions of years, this chemical was reserved for the most intimate human connections. It is what a mother feels when she holds her newborn child. It is what partners feel when they trust each other completely. But in a twist of evolution that exists nowhere else in the animal kingdom, humans and dogs have learned to trigger this chemical in one another. We have hacked the code of love. Think about the gaze. In the wild, for a wolf, eye contact is a threat. It is a challenge. It is a prelude to a fight. But 30,000 years of shared fires have changed the meaning of a look. When you lock eyes with your dog, your brain releases a surge of oxytocin. And here is the truly beautiful part: at that exact same moment, the dog's brain releases the same surge. It is a feedback loop, a golden circle of dopamine and peace. The more you look, the more you love. The more they look, the more they trust. Notice the physical sensation of this connection. Feel the tension in your chest begin to melt. Feel the fight or flight response of your nervous system, the adrenaline and the cortisol of a busy day, slowly being washed away by this gentle, internal tide. This is why, after a long day of stress and noise, coming home to your dog feels like coming home to yourself. They are literally, chemically, a source of healing. They are the invisible thread that stitches our frayed nerves back together. Sink deeper into the softness of your bed now. Imagine the molecules of oxytocin moving through your veins, like slow, warm, golden honey. Every time you stroke their fur, every time you hear the rhythmic thump of their tail, your body is receiving a message of safety. Science has shown that even just the presence of a dog in a room can lower a human's blood pressure. We are biologically tuned to their frequency. We are two separate species, singing the same chemical song. Think about the domestication syndrome we discussed earlier. We now know that the reason their ears became floppy and their faces became rounder was to make this oxytocin loop even stronger. We chose the wolves that made us feel that feeling. We chose the ones whose eyes mirrored our own. And in doing so, we created a creature that is more than just an animal. We created a biological mirror. A creature that can read our sadness, our joy, and our loneliness through the invisible scent of our hormones. When you are sad, and your dog comes to sit silently beside you, they aren't just guessing. They can smell the shift in your chemistry. They can feel the vibration of your heart. And by staying near you, they are providing the very chemical cure you need. Their touch, their warmth, triggers the oxytocin that allows you to heal. They are the world's oldest, and most faithful, doctors. This invisible thread is what allowed us to cross those frozen bridges 30,000 years ago. It wasn't just meat and fire that kept us together. It was this feeling. The feeling of being pack. The feeling of being one. The wolf became a dog because it learned to love us. And we became human because we learned to love them back. It is a transaction of the spirit, signed in the language of biochemistry. Imagine the millions of people around the world tonight who are feeling this exact same thread. From the shepherd in the mountains to the person in a city apartment. In every language, in every culture, the oxytocin is the same. It is the universal language of the covenant. It is the reason why a dog will wait at a grave for years, and why a human will risk their life to save a puppy from a fire. We are bound by a thread that the world cannot see, and the world cannot break. As the night deepens in your room, and the silence of the history becomes a silence of the soul, feel the weight of this biological bond. You are not just a person with a pet. You are a part of an ancient, chemical masterpiece. You are a half of a whole. You can sleep now, because your body knows that you are in the company of a friend. Your heart knows that the thread is strong. The stars above are quiet, but your body is vibrating with the quiet joy of this connection. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the very cells of our being. We have seen the hunter, the warrior, the symbol, and now, the chemical partner. The evolution has reached its most intimate point. Within the blood. Within the brain. Within the breath. Breathe in the peace of the bond. Breathe out the loneliness of the world. You are safe. You are loved. You are connected to the ancient rhythm of the wild, through the heart of the dog. The world is a complex place, but here, in the quiet, it is very simple. 2 hearts. 1 thread. Absolute peace. Everything is still now. The microscopic dance of the molecules has settled into a soft, protective hum. The dog at the foot of your bed is breathing deeply, their mind filled with the comfort of your presence. And you, finally, are letting go. Closing your eyes, only when you know that the bond is secure. Stay with this feeling of warmth. Let it wrap around you like an invisible, golden, chemical blanket. Soft, healing, and eternal. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the thread. Sleep, and know that you are never, truly, alone. Your heart is in good hands. The invisible threads of the heart have led us back to the world of ice. But this time, we are much further north. We have arrived in the vast, unforgiving expanses of the Arctic, a place where the sun disappears for months at a time, and the only light comes from the dancing green fire of the aurora borealis. Tonight, we explore the silent teachers of the north. The story of the sled dogs. The ones who taught humanity how to live. Where life itself seemed impossible. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the imaginary frost forming on the edges of your thoughts. Imagine the air is so cold, it crackles like breaking glass. The landscape is an endless, blinding white, a desert of frozen water where the wind is the only voice. And there, emerging from the swirling snow, is a pack of dogs. Their thick, double coats are frosted with ice, their breath comes in steady plumes of steam, and their eyes, they carry a wisdom that is as old as the glaciers themselves. In the high Arctic, the dog was not just a companion. It was a lifeline. Without the sled dog, the Inuit and the nomadic tribes of the north could never have moved. They could never have hunted. They would have been frozen in time, unable to navigate the shifting labyrinth of the sea ice. These dogs were the silent teachers. They taught us that to survive the extreme, one must possess the ultimate endurance and the ultimate focus. Think about the physical mastery of these creatures. The Siberian Husky, the Alaskan Malamute, the Samoyed. Their bodies were forged in the furnace of the cold. Their paws are designed like snowshoes, their tails are thick brushes they use to cover their noses when they sleep in the snow. They can pull many times their own weight, for hours on end, across terrain that would swallow a man whole. They are the poets of motion, moving in a rhythmic, hypnotic gallop that sounds like a heartbeat against the ice. Notice the communication between the musher and the pack. It is a language of one-word commands and long, profound silences. Gee. Haw. Mush. But the real conversation happens through the tension of the lines. The human stands on the runners of the sled, feeling the power of the dogs vibrating through their boots. The dogs feel the intent of the human through the harness. It is a total union of will. The silent teachers taught us that in the wilderness, there is no room for ego. There is only the team. Sink deeper into your bed now, as if you were sinking into a pile of warm reindeer skins, safe inside an igloo while a blizzard rages outside. Feel the safety of that structure. Outside, the wind is screaming at 70 miles an hour, but inside, the only sound is the rhythmic, heavy breathing of the dogs, curled up just outside the entrance. They are the barrier between us and the void. Imagine the Serum Run to Nome in 1925. A moment when the world held its breath as teams of dogs raced across the frozen tundra to deliver life-saving medicine. When the machines failed, when the planes couldn't fly, the dogs ran. They ran through whiteout conditions where the mushers were blind. Balto and Togo, names that are now carved in history, led their teams through the darkness, relying entirely on their own internal maps. They taught us that when the world goes dark, the nose and the heart can still find the way home. Think about the silence of the Arctic night. It is a silence so deep, you can hear the stars. In that silence, the relationship between the traveler and the dog becomes almost telepathic. The dog knows when the ice is too thin, even before it cracks. It knows when a storm is coming, even before the sky turns gray. We learn to listen to their ears. We learn to watch the tilt of their heads. We became students of their instincts. The silent teachers also taught us the value of rest. After a long day of pulling, when the sled finally stops, the dogs don't complain. They dig a small hole in the snow, curl into a tight ball, and disappear into a world of dreams. They show us that strength comes from knowing how to preserve your fire. They show us that even in the harshest conditions, peace is possible. Imagine the bond of a family in the north. The puppies were often raised inside the tents, sleeping with the children. This wasn't just for warmth, it was to ensure that from the very first breath, the human and the dog understood each other. The children grew up hearing the stories of the great dogs of the past. Dogs who saved the tribe from starvation. Dogs who fought off polar bears. Dogs who were the true architects of their world. As the night deepens in your room, and the modern world feels like a distant memory, feel the cold, clean nobility of this northern legacy. You are being guarded by the spirits of the sled dogs. A lineage of survivors that has never known the meaning of giving up. You can sleep now, because the lead dog is on the trail. The path is clear, and the destination is rest. The stars above the Arctic ice are the same stars that watch over you tonight. They have seen the sleds glide across the snow for thousands of years, always with the same, silent, determined partners. The guardian is still there, at the foot of your bed, or in the frozen beauty of your imagination. Unstoppable. Ancient. Wise. The journey of the 3 hours is now moving through the lands of the midnight sun and the eternal frost. We have seen the companion become a warrior, a symbol, a chemical partner, and now a teacher. The evolution has taught us how to survive the impossible. It has taught us how to find a home in the heart of the cold. Breathe in the clarity of the ice. Breathe out the heat of your worries. You are safe. You are in the shelter of the north. The snow is falling softly, the runners are quiet, and the night is yours to enjoy. The silent covenant is now a masterclass in endurance. Everything is still now. The aurora borealis is fading into a soft, purple glow. The sled has been tucked away for the night. And the lead dog, finally, lets out a deep, frosty sigh, closing its eyes only when it knows that the pack and the traveler are warm and secure. Stay with this feeling of strength. Let it wrap around you like a heavy, fur parka. Warm, solid, and protective. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the teachers. Sleep and know that the way home has already been found. The howling winds of the Arctic have softened now, fading into the distant hum of a modern city. The sled tracks in the snow have been replaced by paved streets and glowing skyscrapers. We have traveled 30,000 years. From the mouth of a frozen cave to the heart of the 21st century. But the role of our companion has not ended, it has simply evolved into something more subtle and more profound. Tonight, we explore modern sentinels. The guardians who no longer watch for lions in the tall grass, but watch over the silent storms within our own bodies and minds. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the air of the present moment, familiar and still. Imagine a world where the dangers are invisible. A world where the predator is not a beast, but a sudden drop in blood sugar, a flickering electrical storm in the brain, or the crushing weight of a memory that won't go away. In this complex, modern landscape, the dog has stepped forward once again as the ultimate sentinel. They have become the silent monitors of our fragile biology. Notice the modern service dog, sitting calmly in a busy subway or a quiet office. To a stranger, they might just look like a well-behaved pet. But look closer. They are working. Every second, their nose is sampling the air, detecting the chemical shifts that a human can never feel. They can smell a seizure minutes before it happens. They can detect the scent of a falling glucose level with the precision of a laboratory. They are the high-tech guardians of the new age, using a sense of smell that has been refined by millions of years of evolution to keep us safe in a world of machines. Think about the medical alert dogs. For a person living with a hidden illness, the world is a place of constant anxiety. But with the sentinel by their side, the fear dissolves. The dog provides a RAM upgrade once again, taking over the burden of constant self-monitoring. If the dog is calm, the person is safe. If the dog nudges their hand, it is a signal to stop, to rest, to take medicine. It is a silent, biological conversation that saves lives every single day. The wolf of the Ice Age has become the physician of the modern age. Sink deeper into the comfort of your bed now. Feel the absolute safety that this modern partnership provides. Beyond the physical, there are the emotional support and psychiatric service dogs. For those who have seen the horrors of war or the darkness of trauma, the world can be a loud, frightening, and lonely place. For a veteran with PTSD, a modern sentinel is a bridge back to the land of the living. They are trained to watch the back in a crowded room, to provide a physical grounding when a panic attack strikes, to wake their human from a nightmare with a gentle lick of the face. In these moments, the ancient covenant reaches its highest form. The dog is not guarding a cave, they are guarding a soul. They are the keepers of the peace. Their presence says, "The battle is over. You are home. I am here. You can breathe now." They are the only creatures on earth who can walk into the darkest corners of a human's mind and lead them back to the light. Think about the silence of a therapy dog in a hospital corridor. They walk through the halls of pain and uncertainty, bringing a quiet, wagging joy to those who have forgotten how to smile. They don't ask for explanations. They don't need to know the diagnosis. They simply offer their presence. A touch of soft fur, a warm chin resting on a hospital bed, a pair of eyes that say, "I see you, and you are not alone." These are the sentinels of empathy, the guardians of our humanity. Notice how your own breathing has become a slow, rhythmic wave, like the breath of a sentinel at rest. The modern world is full of noise and stress, but when you are with a dog, the noise fades. They force us to slow down. They force us to be in the now. They remind us that the most important thing in the world is not the email or the deadline, but the walk, the touch, and the shared silence. They are our teachers of mindfulness, guiding us away from the chaos and toward the calm. Imagine the search and rescue dogs, the ones who go into the rubble of fallen buildings or the depths of the forest to find the lost. When technology fails, when the thermal cameras can't see, the sentinel finds the scent. They work until their paws are raw, driven by a loyalty that is beyond our understanding. They are the heroes who don't wear capes, but wear fur. They remind us that even in our most advanced age, we are still, and will always be, dependent on the wild gifts of our oldest friend. Think about the guide dogs for the blind. They are the eyes for those who live in darkness. They navigate the complex web of city traffic, curbs, and obstacles with a calm, focused intelligence. The human holds the harness, and the dog provides the vision. It is a dance of total trust. A partnership that allows a person to move through the world with dignity and independence. The dog is the light in a world without it. As the night deepens in your room, and the modern world begins to settle into its own quiet sleep, feel the weight of this ongoing legacy. The sentinels are still on duty. In homes, in hospitals, in police stations, and in the quiet bedrooms of the lonely. They are the invisible safety net of our society. A lineage of protectors that has never, not for one single day, broken the promise made 30,000 years ago. The stars above your city are the same stars that saw the first wolf approach the fire. They have seen us build empires of stone and empires of data, but the most important thing we ever built was this bond. The guardian is still there, at the foot of your bed, or in the gentle pulse of the world around you. Specialized, intuitive, unfailing. The journey of the 3 hours is now touching the very present moment. We have seen the companion become a teacher, and now, a sentinel of the modern soul. The evolution has moved from the external world of predators to the internal world of the heart. The covenant is more than a history, it is our current reality. Breathe in the peace of the modern home. Breathe out the hurry of the day. You are safe. You are in the care of the watchers. The world is a loud place, but your room is a sanctuary. The sentinels are awake, so that you may truly, deeply rest. Everything is still now. The city lights have dimmed. The hum of the machines has softened. And the modern sentinel, finally, lets out a long, weary, but happy sigh, closing its eyes only when it knows that the one it loves is finally at peace. Stay with this feeling of protection. Let it wrap around you like a soft, weighted, modern blanket. Comforting, secure, and perfect. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the sentinels. Sleep, and know that you are being watched over by the best of friends. The bustling sounds of the modern city have drifted away, leaving us in a space of pure reflection. We have traveled from the ice to the desert, from the castle to the laboratory, and finally, we have arrived at the most profound destination of all, the human heart. Tonight, we explore the mirror of humanity, the realization that in domesticating the wolf, we inadvertently domesticated ourselves. That the dog is not just a separate creature we invited into our homes, but a mirror that reflects the very best of who we are. Take a very long, slow, deep breath. Feel the weight of your own existence settling into the quiet of the night. For 30,000 years, we have looked into the eyes of the dog. But what we didn't realize was that we were also looking at a version of ourselves. A version that is kinder, more patient, and more capable of unconditional love. The dog became the mirror in which we learned to see our own potential for empathy. Think about the prehistoric hunter, the one we met at the beginning of this journey. Before the dog, survival was a cold, calculating business. It was us versus them. But when we shared our fire with the wolf, we broke the first and most difficult barrier. We learned to care for a being that didn't share our blood, or even our language. This was the birth of compassion. By learning to love the dog, we learned how to be more human. They were our teachers of kindness, in a world that knew only the law of the spear. Notice how the dog reflects our emotions. When you are joyful, they dance. When you are grieving, they are a silent, heavy anchor of support. They do not judge your failures, they do not remember your mistakes, they do not care about your status in the world of men. They only see your soul. This purity of focus, this absolute presence, is the mirror we need in a world of distraction and judgment. They show us what it looks like to live without the masks we wear. They reflect back to us our capacity for simple, uncomplicated, honest connection. Sink deeper into the stillness of your bed now. Feel the absolute peace that comes from being truly seen. Many anthropologists believe that the self-domestication of humans happened because of our relationship with dogs. By choosing the friendliest wolves, we were also choosing to be friendlier ourselves. We traded our aggression for cooperation. We traded our solitude for community. The dog didn't just join our pack, they taught us how to build a better one. We are, in a very real sense, a species created by the presence of the dog. Think about the patience they show us. A dog will wait by a door for hours, just for the sound of your footsteps. They will forgive a forgotten walk or a late dinner with a single wag of the tail. In this mirror, we see the virtue of patience, a virtue that the modern world often tries to steal from us. When we are with them, we are forced to slow down. We are forced to listen. We are forced to be patient. They are the guardians of our own tranquility, reminding us that the best things in life are the things that take time. The mirror of humanity also shows us the depth of our own loyalty. We see a dog's devotion and we are inspired to be more devoted ourselves. We see their bravery in the face of danger, and we find our own courage. They are the living embodiments of the virtues we admire most: loyalty, bravery, forgiveness, and joy. By keeping them close, we keep those virtues alive in our own spirits. They are the external batteries for our internal humanity. Notice your own breathing now, a slow, rhythmic, peaceful wave. The dog at the foot of your bed, or the memory of one, is a silent witness to your life. They know your secrets, they know your fears, and they stay anyway. This absolute acceptance is the most powerful mirror of all. It allows us to accept ourselves. In the presence of a dog, we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be. They give us permission to be vulnerable, and in that vulnerability, we find our true strength. Imagine a world where this mirror didn't exist. A world where we never learned to bridge the gap between species. It would be a colder world. A harder world. Without the dog, we might have remained the cold predators of the Ice Age, focused only on the kill. But because of them, we are the protectors, the nurturers, the dreamers. They are the reason we look at the world with eyes of wonder, rather than eyes of suspicion. They are the reason the firelight feels like home. Think about the lessons of joy they provide. A dog finds absolute, unbridled happiness in the simplest things: a blade of grass, a ray of sun, the return of a friend. In the mirror of the dog, we see our own lost capacity for wonder. They teach us that happiness is not a destination, but a state of being. They show us how to be grateful for the breath, for the warmth, and for the moment. They are the small, furry Zen masters of our everyday lives. As the night deepens in your room, and the history of the 30,000 years settles into your soul, feel the weight of this reflection. You are a better person, because they are in the world. Your life has more meaning, because you have shared it with a creature that loves you without condition. The mirror of humanity is not a ghost, it is a living, breathing, wagging reality. The stars above are quiet, but they have seen this transformation. They have seen the hunter become the friend, and the friend become the teacher. They have seen the human soul grow larger and softer in the presence of the dog. The guardian is still there, and the mirror is still clear, reflecting the light of your own heart. The journey of the 3 hours is now reaching its final, most peaceful peak. We have seen every phase of the covenant, and now we see the result. We are not just a species that has a pet. We are a species that has found its soul through the eyes of another. Breathe in the peace of being human. Breathe out the noise of the outside world. You are safe. You are loved. You are part of an ancient, beautiful, and living mirror. The world is a complex place, but in the quiet of this reflection, everything is clear. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Everything is still now. The shadows are long, and the night is kind. The dog, finally, lets out a deep, soulful, and contented sigh, closing its eyes only when it knows that you have finally seen what they see. That you are, in fact, wonderful. Stay with this feeling of worth. Let it wrap around you like a soft, warm, golden light. Healing, accepting, and eternal. The journey continues, but for now, there is only the silence of the mirror. Sleep, and know that you are beautiful in the eyes of your friend. The journey is almost complete. The mirror has shown us the truth. And the 3 hours of our shared history are now settling into the deep, quiet pools of the past. We have traveled 30,000 years, through ice and fire, through war and peace, through the ancient cave and the modern home. And now, we have returned to where it all began. The hearth. Not just a fire in a cave or a heater in a room, but the eternal hearth. The place in the human heart where the dog will always have a home. Take a very long, slow, deep, final breath. Feel the absolute stillness of the world around you. The modern world, with all its noise, its worries, and its clocks, has completely faded away. There is only the rhythm of your breathing, and the rhythm of the story. Imagine we are standing in a place beyond time. A place where every fire we have sat by tonight is burning as one. A warm, golden glow that stretches from the dawn of humanity to the very last star in the sky. And there, curled up in the center of that light, is the companion. The eternal hearth is the symbol of our absolute trust. It is the realization that the silent covenant we signed in the snow 30,000 years ago was never meant to end. It was a promise of forever. Think about the millions of nights, the millions of shared breaths that have led to this very moment. Every dog that has ever lived, and every human who has ever loved them, is part of this circle. It is a chain of loyalty that has never been broken. Not by time, not by distance, and not even by death. Notice the weight of the silence now. It is a heavy, comfortable, velvet silence. As you lie there, sinking deeper and deeper into the softness of your bed, feel the presence of the guardian. They are the keepers of the hearth. They are the ones who make a house a home. Without them, the fire is just heat. With them, the fire is love. They are the warmth that doesn't come from wood or coal, but from the simple, steady, unwavering beat of a heart that lives only for you. In the wild, the fire eventually goes out. The sun eventually sets. But the eternal hearth is different. It is fueled by a 30,000-year-old memory. It is the feeling you get when you look at an old photograph of a dog you once had, and you feel their warmth again. It is the feeling of a cold nose against your hand in the dark. It is the knowledge that you are never, truly, alone. You are part of the pack. You are part of the story. And the story is beautiful. Imagine the great cycle of life, moving like a slow, majestic river. We come and we go, empires rise and fall, the glaciers advance and retreat. But the dog stays. They are the one constant in our ever-changing world. They are the thread that connects the caveman to the astronaut. They are the reminder that no matter how much technology we build, or how far into the stars we travel, we will always need the simple, honest, and ancient connection of a friend. The eternal hearth is the anchor of our humanity. Sink further into the darkness now. Feel your muscles becoming like liquid, your mind becoming like a quiet lake at midnight. The shadows on the wall are no longer scary, they are the familiar shapes of protectors. The wolf of the Ice Age is here, but it is no longer hungry. The war dog of Rome is here, but it is no longer fighting. The Victorian companion is here, but it is no longer just an ornament. They have all merged into the one creature lying at your feet or in your heart. The eternal dog. The soul of the covenant. Think about the legacy of this 3-hour journey. You have walked through the entirety of human civilization, and at every single step, there was a paw print beside yours. That is the greatest miracle of our species. That we found a brother in the wild. That we turned a predator into a protector. As the embers of this story fade, let that gratitude be the last thing you feel before the dreams take you. Gratitude for the ears that hear for you. Gratitude for the nose that smells for you. Gratitude for the heart that beats for you. The night is at its absolute peak. The stars are brilliant, silent, and watching. They see the eternal hearth burning in your room. They see the peace you have finally found. The journey is over, the watch is set, and the covenant is secure. You don't have to listen for the wind anymore. You don't have to watch the shadows. The sentinel is on duty. The guardian is home. Listen one last time to the breath of the world. In and out. Slow and deep. The rhythm of the Pleistocene, the rhythm of the future. It is all the same. It is the rhythm of peace. The fire is low, a soft, pulsing crimson glow that makes the room feel small and safe. The world is vast, but your circle is complete. As you drift into the deepest, most restful sleep of your life, let the image of the eternal hearth be your guide. A light that never flickers. A warmth that never fades. A friend who never leaves. You are safe. You are warm. You are home. The 30,000 years have brought you here, to this moment of absolute, perfect silence. Everything is still. The history has been told. The pact has been renewed. And the dog, our oldest, dearest, and most faithful friend, finally lets out one last, deep, shivering sigh of contentment and closes its eyes, because it knows that you are finally, safely asleep. Good night, traveler of the ice. Good night, keeper of the hearth. Sleep in the arms of history. Sleep in the heart of the pack. The silence is yours now. The dreams are waiting. And the hearth will burn forever.